Hey, Sydney here. This is going to be a short mindset video. I feel free today. I feel good. Let's start it there. I'm doing what I want, living how I want, connecting with the beautiful people that I love to connect with. So there's no issues. Well, there's always issues. There's always problems. Isn't it the case that we live in a world where there's always some problem? It's an infinite problem game, but I feel like leaning into that is the beauty of the world. It's and this is going to be a bit of a rant, bit of a freestyle exegesis on where I'm at, but I want to try keep the core theme of navigating ambiguity. And yeah, so back to what I was saying earlier, we always have these problems, and it's an infinite problem game within the world. And to me, problems split into 5 different domains. You have physical, social, emotional, mental, and spiritual. And if you think about them tearing up that way, that's basically makes life as a human being. We have this world that we live in, the physical world, which I guess can be sub-split into economical and ecological. And additionally, we have our social environment, which is interpersonal and cultural. Culture being what arises in the milieu of the interpersonal interactions that are had on a micro level and a macro level every day. Then we have our emotional sanctum, which is how we feel about what we do and people in our lives. And we have our mental also, which is our knowledge and skill set and our knack for things. And then we have our spiritual, which is personal philosophy and faith. And I feel like problems crop up in all these domains. And something that I've found to be philosophically true is the fact that what we engage with is literally a interpretation of our mind as to where to direct our motivation, if we have a typical sense of motivation. And by this I mean there are people who have dogged discipline towards tasks, and there are people who are curiosity driven. And this is what my school is all about. It's all about those that are curiosity driven. I think it's very easy to actually scratch that. It's difficult. It's difficult to develop willpower towards something that you detest, but I feel like a lot of people do that on a daily basis. What I'm here to do is to be the node of the voice of curiosity, of wanting to expand in a holistic way, in a way where you can holistically flourish across those 5 physical, social, mental, emotional, and spiritual domains. Because I believe you can have everything in life. And yeah, abundance is something that through the infinite problem set must be worked towards. And that's why I'm discussing ambiguity in this video. But yeah, there's no limit. The only limit is oneself. So let's kind of define what ambiguity means. To me, ambiguity means the mind state that arises where you have a vision of what you want, but you're not quite sure what the next steps are. And typically what this means is you must undergo a process of trial and error to create a circumstance by which you overcome that initial problem. And what I think people confuse a lot of the time is that the confusion itself is actually a pointer, and it's felt as an emotional state. But the confusion is there because it's your emotions guiding you, telling you that you are not in a position by which your body would feel good, and therefore there is a problem, so you must address it. I can speak from experience in this. So, to be completely transparent, I'm quite a reserved, solitude-seeking individual. I've always valued aloneness and being alone because that is something that enables me to do system designs and do my best thinking. I draw from a lot of inspiration such as Carl Jung, Friedrich Nietzsche, other types of people who also value solitude. And, you know, doing this for a while was great until I felt fundamentally disconnected from the world. This is an experience of mine. And all these negative emotions came up, particularly loneliness and sorrow. And I just have to breathe through talking about it because it was a very deep and, in a way, scary experience. But fortunately, I sought sources through social learning and people who have had this problem before. Because I'd look at people, I'd be like, oh, these people are socializing, they're talking, they're doing whatever, they're having a good time with it, they're very extroverted, let's say. And I found out that this was actually a problem of mine, that I wasn't putting myself out there to the best of my ability, which led me on a journey to socializing more, which was good. Sounds like I'm skipping steps here, but I do want this to be in a free form kind of rant format, so you just get the idea. Basically what I did is I challenged myself to speak to a few strangers a day. Just a few strangers a day. And fast forwarding, I now have that problem solved where I find it very easy to socialize after the consistent repetition, because how we gain traction on our problems is through continued momentum and reflective strategies on how we're learning to address what it is we're trying to deal with. So I would say that was in the social domain. And now I feel like I'm a confident socializer, I'm a very good speaker, I have a way with words. Some people have even said this to me, not to stroke my own ego, not to blow my own trumpet as it were, but just as a matter of fact, I can confidently say within myself, this is something that I've achieved. Emotional domain, we'll give an example. Let's say me picking up a meditation habit. So before I was unable to sit with feelings and process them properly, which resulted in behavioral kind of outbursts. Like I would be having a conversation with someone and I'd have a disagreement with someone and it would end up heated. But again, I had to learn through trial and error and social learning that this was another problem of mine. Fast forwarding on that, I have a meditation practice that I practice less frequently now, but when I started it, it was every day, consistently for many years. And now I feel like I have an element of mastery in that domain of feeling my emotions, processing others' emotions. And it's funny how that works, because that social skill and that emotional skill have actually stacked together, pairing as kind of a mediative mastery that blends the domains. And a lot of my school is about generalism, deep generalism. So my personal philosophy is we can have everything in life, providing we're willing to address the problems that arise in a state of ambiguity. And basically, this is not a course. Well, it is a course. It's a micro introduction to a bit about myself, and I'm really just going to leave it like that as this 9-minute video, because I want people to do their own reflection. A friend of mine has a great phrase, which is figure it out, because you can teach a man to fish and he'll fish forever. You can give a man a fish, he'll have a fish for a day, but you just say figure it out, and that's where real deep learning comes from. And I know that sounds dismissive, but I truly believe that to be the case. And yeah, thanks for listening. Basically, this has been a rant, a little bit about me, some of the things that I've been through, some of the things that I've addressed as problems in my life, and a window, I would say, into what it feels like, just from my experience, to be in an ambiguous state and how I went about managing that, which, to recap, was basically 10 minutes here, all good. was basically trial and error and social learning, with a deep focus on life being an infinite set of problems that gain in complexity, but as we gain skill through complexity, we achieve a baseline of mastery by which we springboard ourselves into further problems, further complexity, and it just goes on and on and on until infinity. Thank you very much for watching.